Pandora's Awareness Podcast, a place where we collect stories and circulate life-changing wisdom. I am your host, Asher, and my co-host today is Queen Lav, and our guest today is Pauline. And we
Hey.
have we have our theme today, which is around first-time experiences. And you're gonna hear some first-time stuff today because I was just chatting up with Pauline so far, and I'm very curious about exactly what she does for a living and what her purpose and mission is on this planet right now. But I would definitely want you to share a little bit about you, Pauline, what you specialize in, or you adding value to the world and who you've been a hero to, my friend.
So what I specialize in is I work with walk-in souls. So souls that are in bodies that were not born into those bodies. They walked into the body
Mhm.
later on in life. And my mission is that every walk-in on the planet knows that they're a walk-in, that they have awareness, and they have access to their gifts.
Mm.
So usually the next question is, Holly, what's a walk-in? Right? It's so familiar to me. So um, for many people, their model of the world is that their soul was born into their body in this lifetime, their soul will stay in this body until this body dies in this lifetime, and then the soul will continue on its journey. That's a very common model, and that's called being born in. I thought that was my reality. I thought that was my truth, but it's not. So
Mm.
if you look at the body as a house, the house can change owners. One soul can leave and another one comes in. It's all done by agreement. Maybe, hey, I came and had the experience that I wanted to have. This is a fantastic walk-in body. Um, who who could come and have their experience. Um, so it's all done by agreement. And there can be multiple walk-ins. You could have had different walk-ins
Mhm.
throughout your life, not just one. So those are the souls that I work with, because I myself am a walk-in, but I didn't know that. I didn't know. I just had my 3rd-year anniversary,
Mm.
and my uh, so being a walk-in is beautiful. It's um, it's a beautiful method to get high dimensional experienced souls down to the planet
Mm.
in specific geographic areas. However, there's only ever meant to be one soul in the body. And there's multiple energies on this planet, and the walk-in process has been manipulated. And that has resulted in there being multiple embodied souls, the souls that were meant to leave didn't. And so there's many walk-ins on the planet right now that are experiencing complications. And that was the case with me.
Okay, this is a first time for me talking about first times. I'm very curious to understand more. And I guess my question is, you said that it's something done by agreement. So how come people are not aware that this is happening like you weren't aware? So or the soul that is walking out, it's agreeing, and the soul that is walking in has no awareness of what's happening?
Really great question. So there's several reasons for that. This is all done on a soul level, right? And then we come down into a very dense world and we have the veils of illusion. So we without significant connection and work, we don't have a really strong connection to our higher self, right? And the unconscious mind cannot process walking. That's a soul level concept. The unconscious mind um, can't process that, so it will do everything in its power to keep the awareness from you, which is why in the work that I do, I just keep planting seeds, because somebody inevitably will come to me and they'll ask me what I do. And I say, I work with walk-ins, and they look at me and they're like, that's the second time this week someone has said that. And I'm like, yes, the information is sinking in through all of the safeguards to keep you in the familiar. Does that help?
It does. However, oh man, this is hard too, because it's layers, right? We have to peel the layers to understand. So when I think about me, who am I? Well, it's as you say, yeah, we are a part of a whole. Is the body, is the mind and the soul. So therefore, when you say so, but this whole me can be peeled by layers, and then I can still keep my mind, which is my awareness, but the soul can be replaced practically.
So I say my soul, like I look at it as an infinite being, right? So the totality of me cannot fit into a body. It's too much, right? So a facet of me comes in to a body, right? That facet can come in to have a certain experience. Maybe that facet had its experience, so that facet leaves, and another facet of me comes in.
So it's another facet of you. So practically that soul, it's another facet of you. It's not just a different, completely person, let's say.
It could be. So that's one, is that it's the same. So if you look at it as a diamond, right? The whole diamond won't fit into a body. So the diamond can send in a facet, another facet. But sometimes that diamond says, hey, we cannot have the experience that we came here to have in that body. So that whole diamond leaves and a whole other diamond comes in. That's when you get really big changes, like my before and after pictures, because the body is simply an expression of the energy that's in it. You change the energy, you change the expression.
Asher, can we just pull those pictures up that Pauline is talking about on her website while she's telling us the story? Can you just pull that up and share it on your screen? Because I really want to understand the difference. Because you said that before, to realize that that was happening, you were looking in a certain way.
Yeah, absolutely. And so to me, there's 3 levels. My being is being housed in this body. I am not this body. I'm a being in the vehicle of this body.
Yeah, I guess a lot of people will agree with that nowadays. A lot of people agree.
So when you can distinguish that I am not the body, I am the awareness that knows it's in the body.
Yeah.
That awareness can change. The mind takes some time to wrap its head around
it. As you can see, my mind is spinning now to try to wrap around it.
So the unconscious mind, which is 95% of us, is where our programs lay. It's what keeps us alive. Its number one prime directive, its number one priority above all, is to keep you safe. Which sounds wonderful, right? Its idea of safe is in the familiar.
Familiar, yeah.
So new information coming in, changes. I'm a walk-in. I've been in this horrific abusive relationship for 10 years. I don't want to be in anymore. I want to get out. Unconscious mind is going to do everything it can to keep you there. That's why change is so important, is because you're needing to overcome the operating system.
Wow. Can you share with us the first time when you came across this concept, and how did that resonated with you, and the first time you came to understand that that's happening to you?
Sure. So My journey, I was in a head-on collision in 2013 that resulted in head and neck injuries that went undiagnosed, or well diagnosed. That devolved into fibromyalgia. So I got really sick. I was in so much pain, and it was car accident. So you're dealing with insurance companies. They didn't want to pay for treatment, things like that. And it was a big downward spiral. And had I not, and my son and I have talked about this, had I not had a child, I probably would have killed myself. That's how bad it was. I did not see any hope to getting out of this pain. And then they said, well, we're going to if you get the diagnosis of fibromyalgia, you can get on this medication and that will help you. And I set my sights. That was all I could see, was I needed to get this medication. And so get the medication. But here's the thing. Any physical symptom or sensation that your body is giving you is a message, right? It's just telling you something.
Yeah.
So I took the medication thinking, oh, this is it. This is the Holy Grail. Like this is going to help me. And my body was like, oh, no, sister, this is not going down that way. And I ended up in the hospital. My heart went crazy. Like just my body was just like, absolutely not. You are not getting the message and you are not doing this.
Wow.
So I was shattered. I was shattered. I like literally, you want to talk hitting the floor. Like, I don't know what to do. I surrendered. I gave up. I said, I don't know what to do anymore. And then my thoughts changed. They changed from, I'm in so much pain, I can't do this, to, if my body is supposed to heal itself, why isn't it? And that sent my life in an entirely different trajectory. It wasn't about escaping the pain anymore. It was, it was about, I know I'm supposed to heal. So what's in the way of that? And that took me on a trajectory of yoga, moving my body. They had sent me to a course for fibromyalgia. And it's painful to move your body, but it's not harmful. And all about learning all about fascia and how that causes it's part of fibromyalgia. So I started to move my body. And then I had the opportunity to do my Akashic Records training, right? So using a pendulum to dowse and doing that training. And that's when I first found out about what I know now as walk-ins. But in that modality, it's called soul shifting.
Or you will have to explain two concepts if you don't mind me interrupting you.
Sure, yeah.
The Akasha pendulum, you said?
Akashic records are the soul's records.
All right.
Right? So if this, us being in this body, the soul is eternal and the soul has a record. So the Akashic records is us accessing on the soul's records. So that's what I was trained to do. And then you use a pendulum.
Okay.
Right? That's like an extension of your consciousness. So in my training to read the Akashic records, this came up of soul shifting, where in that modality, it was a teaching contract where one more experienced soul would be in the body. It would be teaching. The student would be on an astral plane, and then they would switch out. So it was either a teaching contract or a protection contract, where one soul was protecting the other. So that's when I knew, that's how I found out about walk-ins. That was initially how I found out about it.
Yeah.
And then but my teacher said, really rare. Like you're not going to come across this. So don't worry about it.
Huh.
Same with one specific soul group, which are blueprinters. So she said, don't worry about it. You're not going to come across blueprinters and you're not going to come across soul shifters. So to do my certification, I needed to do 5 readings. And the first one shows up as a soul shifting blueprinter. And I'm
Wow.
like, what? And the second one and the third one. And I messaged her. I said, like, what are you talking about? Like, this is what I'm attracting. And she's like, oh boy. So that's how I found out about it. And then I went on to do my NLP training, my neuro-linguistic programming. So dealing with the unconscious mind. I went to do my NLP training, did my first level of it. And that's when I realized my body was in survival. Right? So as much as I was now aware of my thoughts, my physical body was in survival. And I started to meditate to settle my body down and to that showed up for me is you need to meditate. Did my master level training. All kinds of crazy stuff happened there. And then I went to a meditation retreat in November of 2019. Have you heard of Joe Dispenza?
Mhm.
Oh, of course. Oh man,
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of him and his work.
Yeah. So that was the meditation that I started. And I went to his week-long advanced retreat in Malta in November of 2019. And at a retreat, it's a week long, and you learn 4 types of meditation. And the most advanced form is walking meditation. So you're
Yes.
you're walking, you're in a meditative state out in the world. It's the most, you're integrated into the world doing it. So we learned walking meditation. So one of the gals that I met there, we got back and she started to do a 30-day walking meditation challenge, which means that you do walking meditation every day for 30 days to build the habit right after a retreat, right? To build really good habits. So she said to me, I'm doing this. Do you want to join me? And she had been sending me pictures, right? She took a picture before she did the meditation and she did the picture after. And we laugh, we call it the meditation facelift because you just look like 10, 15 years younger. So initially, I was like, it's January in Canada. It's freaking cold.
Mhm.
So my excuses at that point were it was really cold and I had a fear of unleashed dogs, which was very valid at that point. So anyway, I was like, well, you're in or you're out, sister, right? So I started a 30-day walking meditation challenge on January 3rd of 2020. And very quickly, I had a coherence healing in Malta for gluten sensitivity. I had been gluten-free for 10 years at that point. Eating gluten was like eating barbed wire from start to finish. And I had been selected for a healing. I had the healing. And, there was 1,000 of us at the event, which actually is now in comparison was a small event. So I don't know, we had breakfast or lunch right after my healing. And I was either like, well, you either trust that the healing happened or you didn't, right? Like what do you choose, right? Do you choose that it happened or do you choose that it didn't happen? And so I was like, okay, well, I know it happened. And so how do you be, what behavior do I choose to know that it happened, like to believe that it happened. So I stood at the buffet and I ate 3 pastries, like just like it's it. I'm in. It happened. I was fine. I was perfectly fine. And I was like, this is real. Like, this is happening. Like, before I would have been sick as a dog. So get home. Christmas goes by. I'm eating things I haven't eaten in like 10 years. Start the walking meditation, and it's around the 19th of January. So I'm about 16 days in. Actually, before that, the first day to do the walking meditation, I thought you did pictures, right? I didn't, this is what I was shown. So I thought you did pictures. So I go to take my selfie at the beginning of the meditation, and the mental abuse in my thoughts was horrific. Absolutely horrific. I write about it. I wrote a book about it. It's a free download on my website. And I will never forget that day. And I know I'm NLP trained. How I'm doing one thing is how I'm doing another, everything. So that abuse is always there. I just didn't notice it.
So how did you notice it this time? So there were your thoughts, or just looking at your picture?
It's, who do you think you are? You're so fucking ugly. Nobody wants to see a picture of you. It was awful. It was the worst abuse you could imagine. And I am going to meditate. And it's like, what is happening? So I took the picture at the end. It took everything in me not to vomit. And that's when I was like, I have to do this now, because that's happening and I didn't see it before. So around the 19th, I got really sick. So I'd been doing the walking meditation 2 and a bit weeks, and I got really sick. And it felt like gluten, but it felt different. And I went to my doctor, and you got to figure, my father died of small bowel cancer really young. So every red flag in my medical file is about colon cancer. I was having colonoscopies every 2 years. So I get to my doctor for these symptoms, and it's like panic stations. The first week I'd had every test known. They couldn't find anything. I was there like Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I was in so much pain. Friday, she said, Pauline, I'm not working this weekend. If it gets worse, you have to go to Emerge. Like, don't mess around with this. So the only time the pain would go away was if I meditated.
Wow.
And I was doing the Western medicine 3D thing, but at the same point in time, you go where the relief is, right? So I kept doing, I'm like, there's something here. Like my body's coming out of pain. So I kept pushing through. I kept doing it. The test didn't show anything. But the pain kept coming back. So they scheduled a colonoscopy, and I go in, and my gastroenterologist knew me, right? He's like, Pauline, what are you doing here? This was in February. He's like, I'm not supposed to see you till October. Why are you here? So I told him, I'm like, Doc, this is what's going on. Like, these are the symptoms. This is what's happening. And he's like, okay, check me out. So they found ulcers in my terminal ileum. They found Crohn's that was not flared. It was masked because I had been gluten-free. So now I've had the healing for the gluten. I'm back on gluten, and the root cause is now showing itself.
Oh, okay.
Right? And so I'm like, okay, well, this is just energy. And went about my process of, okay, body, what does this mean? And what are you trying to tell me? And it was about forgiveness.
Wow.
And my father had died of that. He just didn't know it. And I needed to forgive the same thing he needed to forgive.
Which was?
My mother. An action my mother had taken that changed the trajectory of all of our lives. And actually, I believe that was why the walk-ins happened for me, that the life that the original occupant came to live could not have been lived because of that. And so I was like, okay, I had tried to forgive her. Like I had really, really tried to forgive her. So now I'm in a position where, Pauline, you've seen the path that Dad walked. You held his hand while he was dying. You were his caregiver. You're going there if you can't figure this out. And I found, it's a quantum forgiveness modality, which deals with the family of origin. Did a coherence healing, did all kinds of my own work, and I cleared the Crohn's in 5 days. And have been.
How did you feel after that? How did you know, okay, I cleared it?
Because all the pain that I had been suffering, all the testing, it was all gone. I was back to eating anything I wanted to eat. And there's a knowing. There's a knowing that you got it, right? There's that communication with body. There's this relief. There's this letting go. There's this, we got it.
I want to tap into knowing.
Okay.
And here, so I'm listening. This is an incredible story, by the way, Pauline. So thank you so much for sharing it. And thank you so much, Live, for your curiosity and getting some of this information out. Pauline, you did wonderful, by the way, sharing your story. But I was thinking this whole time, like all of this for a body? Like all of this thing for some souls to occupy a body. We're doing all of this, going through all of this experience. It's crazy.
Human energy is divine. We are divine. We are divine creatures. Every single body matters. And it's been conditioned out of us. Because your thought is, oh, that seems like a lot of trouble for a body. No, we are divine. And that's why we live in a multidimensional planet. There are so many energies that try to access human energy. All illness is a lowering of frequency. What many people don't understand is that much of that energy is external.
Question for you. When you said, if the body can heal itself, why doesn't the body do that, right? I think so many of us have this question, and including myself, I had it at one point. Man, I knew Joe Dispenza's work, Wayne Dyer's work, so many people who emphasize the importance of how we think. And Joe Dispenza has this amazing, mind-blowing story where he was paralyzed, right? I think from the neck down, he was paralyzed.
No, he had a back injury. He regrew his, he restructured and regenerated his lower spine.
With his own mind. He was, going there every day and being the little surgeon and restructuring and redoing his vertebrae. And today he's walking among us and very healthy. So, when you see that, a part of you believes it. Okay, it's possible you can do it, but why I cannot do it?
So first of all, I've had spontaneous healing. I've had conscious spontaneous healing where I instructed my body to heal. I've had regeneration. What I've been able to accomplish in this body has been phenomenal. This diamond came into this body in November of 2020. And what we've accomplished is groundbreaking.
I guess two questions for you. Did you experience this healing after the walk-in? And another question is how the rest of us who believe that we can heal ourselves, but just don't know how
So
and what we can do.
I'll speak to the other two others first.
Yeah.
There's 3 components to healing. 2 root causes. The root cause of any illness is never physical, ever. But we have been conditioned and brainwashed into thinking that we're dealing with it physically. You're not. You're dealing with it. It's emotional and energetic. So you're chasing shadows if all you're doing is physical. The body is the hologram. Okay, remember those old slide projectors with the little slides in them? Remember that? Okay, your body is what is showing up on the screen. So if you want to change what's showing up on the screen, do you go and change, like do you go and write on the screen? No, you take the slide out and you put another slide in.
Yeah.
That's energetic and emotional. You're changing the energy. But people have been brainwashed and conditioned into thinking and believing that the physical is all there is. And there isn't. Why? Why? There are non-beneficial energies. Like if you look at planet Earth, look at it as the ocean, right? And let's say humans are dolphins. We've been fed this line of BS that we are the only energies on the planet. That is such crap. That's like saying the only thing in an ocean is a dolphin. We are bumping into other energies all the time. Some are benevolent and some aren't, right? Some are benign to us and some aren't. But when you don't understand that, when you don't understand that every thought is not yours, that every physical sensation is not yours. Like I've talked to bodies that are ill and I'm like, body, is this yours? No. Okay. Could you let it go? Yes. Right? You walk into a room and suddenly you just feel sad or you feel angry. You've walked into a cloud of someone else's energy and your body's taken it on. It's not yours. But until you understand, there's never, the only time an illness is physical is when it's gone on for so long or long enough for the body to adapt to it.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And how about the first question, which was if your healing happened after the latest walk-in, which you said it's 3 years.
Yeah, I was having spontaneous healings while I had multiple occupants.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it didn't all happen after. My first instance of spontaneous healing was before I had even gone to a Joe Dispenza event. This body had a back injury, a severely herniated disc, L4, L5. It bulged left. And so before the surgery, couldn't walk. Like there's no use of the leg. Nerve damage down to the toes, dragging the leg. And through kind of matter to matter, physiotherapy, all that stuff, was walking after the surgery. And then, so now fast forward 12 years after the surgery, I'm in my master level NLP training, and I have a patch on the back of my left thigh about the size of a cell phone that still had absolutely no feeling, none. And we're dealing with universal energy and, you know, the same energy we're dealing with at a retreat, and possibility and potential. And I said to my teacher, before we graduate, I'm healing this nerve damage. So I set the intention, and we were and we went, that was a 2-week course. We went every day, like 12 hours a day. I was exhausted. And we were graduating on the Friday. The Thursday night, so early in the Friday morning, I got woken up with this insanely painful burning sensation around my left thigh. And I was kind of like, what now? Because the unconscious mind wakes you up at different times, means different things, right? If it wakes you up at 1 o'clock in the morning, it means something's going to happen, or it's working on something. Between 3 and 4, it's to let you know it already worked on it. So this had been happening to me for 2 weeks, because when you're doing this kind of work, unconscious mind is really active. So I was just like, what now? And I grabbed a pillow and I lay on my side. I put the pillow between my knees, so my left leg was up. And I'm like, do what you need to do. I'm going back to sleep. And I fell back asleep. And then I woke up in the morning and I was lying there and I remembered, and I was like, what was that? And I felt down and I could feel the back of my thigh. And that was the healing.
Wow.
And I've had many, many instances. I'll give you another example. It was it was early July 2020. So I had not had the walking clearings yet. I was in my garage. I had flip-flops on, and I bumped into a shelf that held a cordless drill that was not in its case. So it was one of my dad's old, heavy, with the battery in it. And the drill fell on my left toe, my left big toe, like the corner of the battery, like just boom, from probably like chest high. And it was one of those like swearing, and in my mind, all I could see was the bone like breaking, black and blue, nail falling off, like swell, like that whole disaster reel, like played out in a split second. And the voice in my head said, it doesn't need to be like that, right? And that woke me up, and I was like, you're so right. So I went immediately upstairs to my bed. I lay down. I did Blessing of the Energy Centers 7, which is a lying down blessing of the energy centers. So Dr. Joe's chakras. And nothing happened. Not nothing. Let me rephrase that. I gave my body the time it needed during that meditation to address what it needed to address. I did not even get a bruise. Nothing. I had a meditator friend come over the next day. I had posted in the Dr. Joe meditation group with pictures and stuff. And he comes over a couple of days later, and he's looking at me. He's looking at my feet, and I've completely forgotten about it. Like, it just happened. And he's looking at my feet, and I'm like, what are you looking at? He's like, you're right. There's no bruise. I can't even tell. And it's like, oh yeah. I'm like, yeah, there's nothing. That's what we're capable of.
Yeah.
You have so much validation, by the way. So
much what?
Yeah.
So much validation, so much evidence of this thing working. And that was incredible to hear, by the way. So thank you.
We have been conditioned out of our power.
Mm.
And the other thing I want to say is that I call them generically interference energies, right? So energies that are not natively yours, that might be embodied, they're around, they're messing with you. They've infiltrated lineages, right? And they may show up as heart disease, alcoholism, abuse. It's energies and patterns that have just been handed down. And they're just energies to be cleared. And in my unique opinion, walking into the body chose to work with the body to clear up that lineage, heal the body to where it needs to be, and then start the walk together.
I I'm sure Asher has a lot of questions, but before that, let me throw this question. So when we realize that someone has this many occupants,
Mhm.
how do we invite them to move out, walk out, and leave just one soul there? And how do you know, and who will decide which soul will stay?
Okay. So there's occupants. So look at it as the house. The last occupant in owns the deed to the house. They are the one that is meant to be there.
Okay.
The rest of them are not staying by volition. Right? So it's about addressing the energies that have kept them.
Okay.
You have contracts, you have generational ancestral contracts, you have interference energies. There's a lot going on in there, and I don't know anybody who's done it on their own. And that's what I do with people is I have my guidance, I douse, I talk to their bodies, and the body knows exactly what's happening. And we clear and get them to a state of one soul in the body, connect that soul to the body, because we don't know what energy was connected into the body. It's kind of like what energy was informing the body. What if it's an interference energy? What if it's the original occupant that no longer wanted to be there? That's the energy that the body is encompassing. So I get that this is a lot.
Okay, all right. So for the folks that are listening, so people are listening right now, and I think they're probably thinking about conflict, like whether or not the occupants or the soul in the body is having conflict with the other souls. And that's, so if that's happening, like, is there a conflict in the body with the occupancy that's preventing the body from staying healed? If you get what I'm going with this.
So the body is not designed for that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's look at it like time sharing the body. My book is called Who's Holding the Microphone?
Mm-hmm.
There can only be one soul up front, making the choices and decisions that day.
Mm-hmm.
What are we going to do? What are we going to think? What are we going to eat? And I'll give you an example of this. So that walking meditation journey that I talked to you about, I knew something was wrong. And I kept going. I kept going after the Crohn's diagnosis, after it got healed, COVID hit. I had 2 deaths in the family. Like I needed that connection. I kept going. I walked for 724 days. Almost 2 years, every day, committed. And I knew something was really wrong. I didn't know what it was. It got really heightened between day 400 and day 500. There was days I thought I was bipolar. Mm-hmm. Like one day I would be riding my bike, eating foods that I like, starting a new course, which makes me really happy. And just thinking, oh, my life finally, my life is going to go the way I want it to. And then the next day, I can't get out of bed. I like the most negative Nelly, like, you idiot. Why did you pay the money for the course? We're never going to do it. And I've eaten 6 donuts. Right? So now it's another occupant that's holding the microphone that day. But when you're not aware of what's going on, that's a mind.
Yeah.
Here's my confusion.
Okay.
So you're saying so I'm trying to recognize the I that knew or the I that feels compared to the souls that occupies. Is there a distinction there?
When you are not aware, there's no distinction. You think every thought is yours. Mm-hmm. You think that you may think you're your body, and you mm-hmm. may You're not aware that there's other energies in the body with you. So everything is a lumped together aggregate I,
Mm.
right? Because you're not aware. You're not aware that your thoughts aren't yours. You're not aware that your emotions aren't yours.
Mm.
When you're in awareness, like I am, I'll have a thought and I'll be like, oh, isn't that an interesting thought? There's a distinction between me and body,
Mhm.
right? Like everything I do, everything I eat, does my being care what I eat? No. Does my body? Absolutely. So I self muscle test on everything I eat. Body, would this benefit you today? No. Okay, well, would you like this? Oh, yes. Right? And one of my meals a day is a protein smoothie. And my body decides what protein powder we're going to have, what supplements we put in it, what fruit we use. We'll have this today. We'll have that today. And I just go through my cupboard and it's like, oh, okay, what do we do? What do you want today, body? It's like feeding a child. I don't have a preference for what the child wants to eat.
This was shows up for me because I'm gonna get deep with you too because I love this, by the way. This is very
Okay.
interesting. So
Oh man, it's so
I
much
see
to
us
get deep
where
into it, but I'll have to leave in 5 minutes, guys.
okay, yeah,
But we have to have a part 2.
But I see this where like the cell that makes up the body is the cell that's like making the decision, right? And then the cell deciding what to eat, what the body needs to eat. But then the cell comes together to express this body. But then we are inside of the cells, or we inside of the body through the
Are you
cells.
saying cell or self?
Cell.
Cell.
CEL. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The cells of the body.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm going to challenge you and I'm going to say, can you look at this as what if the body is a sentient being on its own
Mm-hmm.
that the infinite being is now in? So you have two sentient beings that have come together.
Mm-hmm.
Does the infinite being know what's best for the body? No, that's the body's domain.
Hmm. Wow, there's a lot of texture here. I know.
There is.
Yeah.
That's why I like to come and have these conversations and they go where they need to go because your curiosity and asks the questions and leads us to where your listeners will most benefit.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I will have to leave this because I have another meeting where I am right now. I'm at an empowerment center where we empower women.
Nice.
And there's a meeting right now in the other room where I have to go to. But this was amazing and definitely has to be a continuation, maybe even tomorrow, or I don't know what's our schedule. Asher knows, but there has to be a part
What
2.
I want to say is that I look at the awareness process. For some, as soon as they hear walk in, goosebumps, they're on it. They know there's something there for me.
Mm-hmm.
Other people, it's not that way. I have a quiz on my website that's going to ask you questions, and it's an energetic free will quiz. You're going to get a rating out of 21 and a color: green, yellow, red alert. That's a good place to start if you think that you're a walker. Right? I'm trying to break it down into different things for people to, well, oh, I don't think so, but maybe I am. That's a good place to start. My book is available on my website as well. That gives a lot more information about walk-ins. And
Will you give your website? Sure.
It's my name. It's PaulineMcGuire.com. PaulineMcGuire.com. To start to answer the questions, to start to come into awareness of, that's my truth? No, but man, that sounds like my best friend.
Yes. Awareness. That's what we call
Yeah.
Pandora's awareness, because we're gonna bring the awareness to everybody that listening.
Yeah. And that's what we're all, I mean, who is it? Around us, we're all just walking each other home. We're all just showing each other
Mm-hmm.
our divinity and our power and what we came, and I mean power in the best possible way. What we came here to demonstrate and to impart and instill an effect on this planet.
Lav, I know you have to go. I will close out. And thank you so much for your curiosity, Lav. Enjoy your event.
So nice to meet you.
Thank you. It was
Can't wait
lovely
for the
meeting you.
questions the next time. Now,
Yes.
when it's not like a
Yes.
all right.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Enjoy
Bye.
your next
Pauline,
one.
one more question. A couple more questions before we close out here.
Okay.
Is there any part of your story that you are nervous about sharing that you haven't shared you would like to share here?
I'm actually, I know that my second book is coming this year. There's a lot I haven't shared. And the process of writing my first book,
Mm-hmm.
that changed me. That transformed me. I had to stand up and say, this is who I am. This is what I am.
Mm-hmm.
And there are many experiences that I've only ever shared
Mm-hmm.
in the Dr. Joe community,
Mm-hmm.
or I haven't shared them at all
Yes.
because I couldn't make sense of them, that they were just so out there. And how different energies affected my body in terms of other chronic illnesses that went on for decades, and what the spontaneous healing looked like when I cleared that energy. Pretty freaky. So I'm getting up the nerve for that, to share that, because the one thing I know, when I was doing those 724 days of walking meditation, which was over 3 countries, and I ended up changing my whole life. I left Canada. Everything, nothing in my life resembles what it used to. But during those, and the walking meditation ended here.
Mexico?
Yeah,
Wow.
right after I got here. Right after a Dr. Joe event here in Vancouver. What kept coming through to me so loud during that walking meditation was, it's not about me. And it's important and it matters.
Mm-hmm.
And there were so many times where I didn't want to share. Like I was, it's like, ugh. And I did. Like I just, it was like there was a hand to my back. It's like, this is not about you. You have got to share because it's important and it matters.
Where do you grow up? You say what part of Canada you grew up?
North of Toronto.
North Toronto. What was your best place to live?
Here.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What? Why this is the best place for you to live right now, or the best place you've lived?
I just love my life here. I love my lifestyle. My body feels very calm and safe here. It's done a lot of healing here. It's regenerating the discs, and along with the back surgery, there was a lot of disc degeneration, and the discs now are about 83% regenerated. They'll be done by September. And I'm going to have a CAT scan done because I have lots of CAT scans showing the degeneration, and I'll have one to show the complete regeneration.
Wow. That's very powerful, by the way. So thank you so much for sharing.
Bodies don't heal in survival, and this world is designed to keep us in survival.
100% agree with you on that one. Oh my God.
Here, I'm not in survival. I go walk on, yeah, it's different here. I feel I'm not in survival here. And I get to grow and expand and transform. And when I do that, I can help more people.
Mm-hmm.
I can show them how it's done quickly.
So the people that you're being a hero to right now, what advice would you give them that are listening to us having this conversation and be like, oh my God.
Everything that you envision for yourself is a possibility. You would not be having the thought otherwise.
Mm.
Trust yourself.
Mm.
And another big one is that it's not the thing. Remember Pirates of the Caribbean?
Mm-hmm.
And Johnny Depp is like, it's not the thing that's a thing, it's the, so it's the thing shows up. And it may not be your interpretation of that thing, or you may not know what it is or why it is.
Mm-hmm.
Keep going. It showed up for a reason.
Mm.
But what happens is most people, something shows up. I'll give you an example. My body showed me, it was ancestral, limitation, energetic constrictions in my right femur and my right ankle last summer, August, September. Showed up as microfractures in the right femur, in the bone marrow.
Mm.
And it showed up as osteonecrosis, so bone death, fractures, and arthritis in a bone in my right ankle. Dealt with all that. It was all healed. Three months in bones, everything perfect. Got the scans to prove it. And a few weeks ago, so that I'm working out with my trainer, we're weightlifting, and a few weeks ago, we were doing weighted squats, and my foot started to bother me. And I could have gone into survival and panic. Oh my God, it's back. Oh my gosh, I shouldn't have done that. You know, the story, right? The disaster reel.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh, body, what are you trying to tell me? So I listen, and I get images, and I honed this ability like this just by listening, trusting that if I ask a question and I get a thought, that's the answer, or it's got something to do with the answer. So I'm like, body, what are you trying to tell me? What's with the sensation in my feet? Because I'm not even going to call it pain. Body, you're sending a message through my feet. What is it? And the answer came back is it was my orthotics. Now I had the orthotics, and the one thing I didn't tell you about the ankle injury was that this body has had no fallen arches, like pronated arches, like no arches. And for 1 month, I couldn't wait there. I couldn't walk because they were worried that the bone was going to crumble.
Mm-hmm.
And during that time, I'm like, okay, this is just energy. I'm clearing ancestral patterns, like all this stuff, clearing. So that, because that's the root cause of the injury. And in that time, in that 1 month, my feet completely changed shape. I grew arches. And it was in that time that my feet were scanned for orthotics. The surgeon said, hey, you've got to get some support for your feet. So my feet were scanned during that time before the healing for orthotics. So now I don't know how much weight I squatted, but it's okay. That ground zero is the feet and the ankles, right? So body's like letting me know it's the orthotics. So I was like, okay, so what's wrong with the orthotics? So essentially, when I didn't have arches, that's when I had the orthotics name. Now I've got arches. My orthotics aren't a fit anymore. And that was the message my body was telling me. It's the orthotics. The message was the orthotics are 23% effective. So I went back, had my feet scanned again, went through the whole thing to get new orthotics. And the doctor was like, because they do all this gait analysis, left, right, like your hips, front to the back of the feet, like where your weight's being distributed. And she's comparing versus my September scan. And she said, Pauline, everything is now within normal range. And it was a bit of a disaster.
Mm.
And I said, so she said, this, you needing new orthotics is the next level of healing.
Let's switch topic here real quick. Let's go to play. I saw you on the beach and I saw some scuba tanks. Do you scuba dive?
I'm starting to scuba dive.
You are?
Yes, that's something I'm doing. So my next adventure, so I do ice bath.
Mm-hmm.
I reset my nervous system doing ice baths here in Playa.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing my breath and ice facilitator training in a couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, I'm doing my PADI open water scuba certification.
There's something magical about underwater, by the way, for me. My experience, I scuba dive too. I'm like, I think I'm rescue diver certified. I think I was trying to get the master diver, but I didn't. I ran out of time.
Have you been to this area, Playa Cozumel?
No, I haven't. I was only in Hawaii, Jamaica, Cuba, and I think those 3 locations. Yeah, I've dived. Mm-hmm.
Nice. Yeah, I'm going to be doing, when I do my certification, I'm going to be doing 2 dives in Playa, 2 in Cozumel, and 2 cenotes.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Yeah, it's a meditative space for me because I used to do a lot of diving too, and I was like, that's the only time it's the only time I got to a place where I wasn't thinking. You know, it was like no thoughts. I was like, oh my God, this is the only place I've like quiet my mind completely underwater.
Okay, can you please do the quiz then? Because there's no coincidences we met.
Mm-hmm.
And empaths, so people who pick up energy, find that relief in water.
Ah.
Yeah. And walk-in bodies are empaths, right? But growing up in this world, unless you had a parent who knew how to teach you how to deal with your gifts, it's like you're in overload because your body has not been taught the discernment of no body that's not our thought, no body that's not our emotion, no body that's not our illness. So there's no barriers, there's no distinction between you and the rest of the world. And you very quickly go into overwhelm, and that gets taken away in the water.
Interesting. I might have to share some more then. So we're talking about this experiences that most people don't experience or see. This is something that happened to me in 2020, I think, during COVID. I was in Kuwait at the time, and I it's like I was awake, but I wasn't I wasn't sleeping, but I had this vibration in my skull. Like my skull was vibrating, and I woke up, and I was in a space where I wasn't up. I was awake, but I wasn't awake. But I went into this realm, so to speak, and then I met. It was like in the dark, but then it was like a silhouette, like a fiery silhouette, kind of like I don't know. It's this kind of different kind of connection. But anyway, I met a being, and then I had a connection, and it was just like this crazy, like just twisting and turning and just connecting, and it felt so good, and then it just kind of like everything just kind of like just fizzled out. But it was crazy. But I know I was awake. I know it was somewhere else.
And it felt good.
Yes.
Okay.
But yeah, I had some interesting experience growing up, and I'm just trying to like start sharing a bit of them and start tapping into different stuff. But yeah.
Well, that's why you do the work you do, right? That's why you can never show others a path you haven't walked. Right? And let's see if this way. I don't really care where you are in the world. Your knowing, your connection, your awareness has most likely been conditioned out of you in order to survive.
I used
right?
to, I didn't even know the term astral travel. I'm learning about it now, but I used to
Astral
do a lot of
travel,
that.
yeah,
Yeah, I was
yeah,
doing a lot of that when I was younger too, and
yeah.
it used
There's
to
all
freak me out.
kinds of
Yeah.
cool stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's also needs to be the distinction though of what energy you get to play with any energies that you want.
Mm.
There needs to be distinction of what's beneficial for you.
Mm-hmm. Wow, this has been a Pandora's awareness experience. We just opened Pandora's box a little bit just now.
We
Yeah,
did. We
we did.
totally did. And it's going to be fascinating because um you guys didn't have any conscious awareness
Mm.
of where this was going to go.
Mm-mm.
And you got a lot of information energetically and verbally and visually. And so I can't wait to see that's going to all percolate
Mm-hmm.
and create our next conversation.
We'll see where that goes. Let the
Yeah.
universe decides. Yeah.
Yeah. You
Okay.
guys let me know when that is going to be.
Yes. And one more time, how can people reach you? You want to
They
work
can
with you?
reach me on my website at paulinemcguire.com. I encourage you, if you're listening to this and you're writing this down, please take the quiz.
Mm-hmm.
And when you take the quiz, it entitles you to a 20-minute call with me. And during that, because you may be like, oh, there's something there for me. During that call, I will intuit and live dose and get your information. I will confirm whether you're a lock-in, whether you've got complications, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not just a little social. It's here's what's going on with you so that you can take your next steps.
Mm-hmm.
So I encourage you, take the quiz, book the call. And my gift to you is my book. It's on free download on the website.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're at a point where you're looking to increase your connection, your awareness, I teach people how to dose.
Mm-hmm.
That was my first connection. That's how I first started with dosing. So I teach pendulum power and how to do it without, when I was taught the modality, we were calling in interference energies. Commonly accepted interference energies. And it took me a while to dig out of that. So my curriculum does not. It's your connection with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Clearing, asking questions, clearing your property, keeping your property, especially if you're aware, keeping your property clear is so important. So quiz, book.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're interested, I've got the course. The course is recorded, or I've got a live one. But it's a Dr. Joe quote,
Mm-hmm.
and it's no longer the time
Mm-hmm.
to know. It's the time to know how. Right?
Powerful.
So if you're relying on others for tarot and Akashic records and all that stuff, you're getting the information through their lenses, their frequency, and their blind spots.
Mm-hmm.
Not what it's about. It's about developing and getting your own information.
One final question. I ask
Yeah.
everybody that come on the podcast this question. What is that one thing or two thing when people do it drives you crazy, if you don't mind sharing?
People drive me crazy. When they choose to stay in pain. Mental, emotional, energetic. Because I lived there and I know it's not necessary. And just live in pain and victimhood.
Mm.
People who think that they live by, that life is being done to them, that they're not the creator of it.
Mm.
And I don't mean that I mean that in the highest sense, that we came here, we chose this.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be pretty murky down here, but every challenge showing up is to help you transform and slough off what's not.
Thank you so much for the generousness of your time, Pauline. This was a pleasure listening to your story and your expertise and your entire experience. Oh my God, it's been amazing.
Been a ride. Thank you for having me.
Of
And
course.
I look forward to the next conversation
Yes.
with you and Queen Lab.
Yes.
And we're, once now that the foundation has kind of been set, where we go next.
Yes. And folks that are watching us, or fans, friends, and family, thank you so much for the generousness of your time listening to us. And if you're looking forward to Pauline next conversation, let us know. Put something in the chat, comment section, so forth and so on. Let us know. And with that, make it an awesome day.